Those who run will tell you, to run is to suffer. But far beneath all that suffering there lies a profound serenity and an inescapable honesty in choosing to take just one more step, despite every ounce of fiber in your body screaming for you to quit and put an end to the pain. I don't know if I'll be able to finish 14 marathons in 14 days, and it really doesn't concern me. I know why I'm doing it, and that's the most important thing. I'm running because I'm able to do so. It's a privilege that millions of children around the world don't have. They're not fortunate enough to live in communities where they have access to safe spaces to play or quality education to learn. As Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. And we believe that's something worth running for. And even if we don't reach that finish line, at least we're able to say that we tried.
Guys, welcome to the show, Marko Kasic of FundLife. Marko, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ralph, for having me. Excited to be here, and when you said it like that, 42.2 kilometers every day, I'm like, wow, that's a lot.
First of all, man, thank you for doing this. Thank
Pleasure.
you for taking time. I know you're also a very, very busy person. I'm going to start with the simple questions. Yeah?
Sure.
So tell us a little bit of your background, Marko. So we know that later we'll also talk about your 42.2 kilometers every day. It's a marathon for 14 days. But you're also the founder and executive director for FundLife, right?
Yeah.
But before that, a little bit of your story. You know, how did you get here, and probably your family way back home.
Sure. Yeah. So taking it back, I'm originally from Croatia. I was born in Croatia, which got quite famous because of Game of Thrones. So a few years ago, no one really knew where Croatia was unless you're a basketball fan. And then I moved to London when I was 6. So I had my upbringing in London, had my education there. Really sort of had my initiation into business. I did business at university. But then I realized after spending 1 year working in London in the corporate sector, I just felt like I wanted to change. I've always been a bit of a kind of rebellious soul, and I wanted to get out. So I started working on some startups. Eventually, I got connected with a Canadian guy who was doing a startup in the Philippines. And this is way back in 2012. So my first trip to the Philippines was actually in 2012, and it was just to help work on a startup company based in Boracay, of all places. So my first 6 months in the Philippines was enjoying life in Boracay and getting used to your nice beaches and different to now in Manila.
Nice. So this was even before FundLife. So what year was this?
That was 2012, my first time in the Philippines. Yeah, so
Okay.
12 years ago now. Yeah, yeah.
So through a friend, a
Yeah.
fellow Canadian who wanted to do a startup here in the Philippines.
Yeah,
Led
exactly.
you here in the Philippines.
Nothing to do with sports, nothing to do with NGOs, nothing to do with running. I just came here because I wanted to leave London. I just grew up and I felt quite restless. It was around the time of a lot of political unrest in the UK. So it was the time when we've lost a lot of confidence in our political leaders. And I was young, I was early 20s.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the world, and I was excited by this opportunity. So I came here really not knowing anything about the Philippines, not really knowing what to expect. The only thing I knew is that Manny Pacquiao was from here, and he had an amazing boxing journey. So that was my knowledge when I came here.
All right. And you mentioned you were working in corporate finance. You worked for how long?
I lasted less than a year, and the reason for that is I came to a conclusion very quickly when I was working in London. We grew up. I come from a very humble beginning, and so my parents always instilled the values of money and working hard, and so I was brought up with this idea that the world is a tough place. Money is hard to come by. Make sure, get a good job, get a secure job, don't do anything stupid. Don't go to the Philippines, like, because that's not safe in terms of like, it's not a good career choice. But what I realized after 6 months working in corporate is if I wanted to make money, I could, and I had that confidence. So I left knowing that whenever or if whatever I did didn't work out, I could always go back to London, and I was a good salesperson. I was good at my job. I picked things up quite quickly. And so I always felt confident that whatever happens, I can always come back and go back to the, corporate sector.
Yeah.
So that's, I think at a young age, that was something rare that I had that a lot of my friends didn't have, because, even in the UK, we have a lot of pressure. You have to get a good job. You have to get a good family, all this, the same thing everywhere in any big city. So just meaning to say that I was quite liberated even before I came here. And I think a lot of young people, especially today, there's a lot of fear, right? We're afraid to take risks. And so I've always wanted to embrace risk from a young age.
Before pressing the record button, I asked you this, and I'm going to ask you right in front of our audience and our viewers and also our listeners. So, what was the shock the system time for you when you pivoted from corporate finance? Probably you were restless, thinking about, and why connecting and probably thinking of founding FundLife?
Yeah, and I said to you, I think it's a great question, and everyone is different. I think for me, it wasn't one moment as such. I think it was a culmination of many, many factors. Okay. I think I would say the big one was reading a couple of books. So one book that I really read that gave me this confidence was the autobiography of Richard Branson, who's an entrepreneur from the UK. He's founder of Virgin.
Virgin, yeah.
Exactly. And again, he comes from very unconventional business. He's dyslexic, didn't finish school. And sometimes, creative people or people who sometimes have ideas, being stuck in the education system, you feel like it doesn't give you a chance to be creative. And I had a lot of those frustrations growing up. So I read his book, which kind of gave me confidence to escape the system or escape the matrix, as I mentioned. And then also Tribes by Seth Godin. He's a marketing guy from the US who talks about this idea of finding your own tribe. And often what happens when you work in a company, it's not really your tribe. You're kind of, in essence, you're a cog in a machine. And so no matter how good you are, you have to serve the company. And when you leave, they'll just replace you with another cog. So in a way, you're giving up your dream, right? Because you're working towards the company of the dream, which is often you're working for maximizing profit. Yeah. So in a way, you're giving up your dream to work in a corporate. And a lot of people, that was my way of looking at it. So I think it was reading those two books. It was this idea of having the confidence to escape and then just being curious. So I think I would say the shock of the system is getting the confidence, but then also having a curious mind. Because a lot of people, even today, I meet a lot of young people, we work with a lot of young people, they're very hesitant to think differently. They kind of have this prescribed way of thinking, whether it's by social media influence, whether it's by education or upbringing. And for me, I've always felt the first step to learning something or doing something new is to really accept that it's exciting. And sometimes doing things that are out of your comfort zone, don't be scared, be excited. And, that's also the motivation for the run. Later, I'm sure we'll touch on. But it's that having that mindset of saying, okay, I've never done this before. It might not work out. But that's the exciting part. And we should be doing more of that.
Wow. I like that. I like what you said. And for me, it's like not just me behind the desk or something like that. Personally, also, I mentioned to you that I'm a corporate slave, right? So I do this, podcasting also on the side because, it's one of my passion. But for me to leap to change or to pivot to what I really wanted to do, just like you, it will really take a lot of guts and overcoming your fear, right? I mean, that's a lot of strength in you, man, to do that, to change, to think of what you mentioned about not in this prescribed norm, but also to go outside of of what's really, yeah.
It's tough, and I feel so fortunate because there aren't many people, from a young age that. Also, I had very supportive parents. I know many friends whose parents wouldn't be so open to kind of leaving that security behind. So again, I feel very fortunate to have that opportunity from a young age to kind of follow something that I felt was more aligned to my passion. But I think it's incredibly hard, and I have so many friends who also, haven't found their passion. And so they find the passion, like what you said, in kind of doing something on the side. I would say understanding and being aware that we're not going to live forever. I think that's a real powerful kind of tool that you can remind yourself, because the idea that I'll do it tomorrow, tomorrow is not guaranteed. And tomorrow turns into next year, and just you're doing it. I said to you, just the fact that you're doing the podcast, that's amazing, man.
Thanks, man. All right, let's go to FundLife. It was it started after the typhoon in Tacloban, right, in 2014. That's a very big catastrophic event here in the Philippines. So. What made you establish FundLife, and why FundLife?
So again, a lot of these things that happen almost happened by accident. So Yolanda happened in November 2013, and at the time I was in Manila when it struck. And I was actually working as a volunteer for another local group that was using football and street football, Futkal Sakalia.
Oh, okay.
So it's like street football, and it was just using football as a way to connect with children in Tondo. And when I first learned about the organization, it was set up by a guy called Peter Amores, doing really interesting stuff, an ex-football player. And before that, I never really understood NGOs. I never really understood development. What I understood was I grew up playing football in the UK, in London, and like we have a lot of rivalry in football. Like here, you have Ateneo and LaSalle, right? So if you're blue and I'm green, technically we shouldn't be such good friends, right? And so for me, I had that same upbringing. So football for me and sport was very divisive. If you support this team and I support this team, like we're kind of frenemies, right? We're friends, but we don't really like each other. And when I came to the Philippines, something changed, and what I realized was I mentioned I lived in Boracay for 6 months, and the one thing as a European who was very sheltered, who spent all of my life before the Philippines in a very safe environment, we don't have poverty like you have poverty in the Philippines. Poverty in the UK is not having money for the latest trainers or not having such a big house, whereas here it's a lot more visceral, it's a lot more in your face when you see children on the street, when you're walking and street children are asking you for money, it's a lot different. And as a foreigner coming in, sometimes it can be overwhelming because you see children on the street, and do you give them money? Because yes, giving them money or giving them a meal will help them in that moment, but it doesn't really solve the long-term problem.
True.
If anything, it encourages them, if I keep asking people for money, at least I can survive day by day. And so the one thing that happened in Boracay for me, which again, maybe this is the shift in the system moment in a way also, was I realized that in Boracay you had 5-star hotels. So I remember Shangri-La, where it's like 20,000 pesos for one night. I remember going there once for a meeting when we were there, and next to the entrance you have the local community sleeping on the sand. And it's such a paradoxical thing because you have the extreme poverty and the extreme wealth, and they almost live side by side, although worlds apart. And so when I was in Boracay, I realized the only time when we would connect with the locals in a way that wasn't rich against poor or in that mentality was when we played beach football. So we would do beach football. Everyone takes the shirt off, and there is no question where you come from, how much money you have, anything. It's just we're all equal. And so this whole mentality that sport is dividing us. When I was in Boracay, I realized, hey, wait, it can actually bring people together. You can bridge these gaps between the rich and the poor through football. And because you wear the same uniform, right? Nobody cares how much money you have or anything. Yeah. And so to answer your question, that was the epiphany in terms of the FundLife potential. Mm-hmm. And so when we were in Manila in 2013, I was volunteering for this NGO, trying to help them get some funding, because again, it was all volunteers, which was crazy to me because they're doing amazing work, but it's all funded by local people. It's all people volunteering their time, as I was and as Peter was. And it just so happened that we had some meetings planned with UNICEF, because I was trying to get funding for the NGO in Tondo for UNICEF. Yeah. And UNICEF said, look, we can't focus on Manila now. We can't focus on Tondo. All of our focus is Tacloban. If you can make a proposal for us to do a project in Tacloban, then let's have a discussion. And so that process took 6 months. So from them asking for a proposal, it was a lot of exchanges, but eventually we wrote a proposal. UNICEF said very reluctantly, they're like, we don't understand why you don't do basketball, but okay, if you want to do football, here's a 1-year project, go and do it. And that's how it started. Yeah.
Wow. Right.
So it was really by unfortunately the Yolanda happening and us being there and able to do a project that could help some of those communities.
Yeah. So FundLife is a decade now.
Yes.
Right. 2014 and then it has helped. I think it has helped a lot of people, communities. What would be how would FundLife be different from normal NGO? You say not-to-profit organization, right?
Yeah.
So how is it different from your NGOs here in the Philippines?
Yeah. I think one thing, as I mentioned, that I wanted to do, because I never had an intention to create an NGO. It was really by the fact that I was there and I was the only one that at the time could do the project in Tacloban. So I think where we're different, as I mentioned, is that we use sports as a tool for empowerment. Some NGOs still use that idea of going in and helping by giving, whether it's relief, whether it's by kind of giving. We call it charity, and for me, charity is something that it's good, but it's personal. It's not sustainable in my eyes, and so because eventually it's about creating interdependent and independent communities. For us, it's about giving agency. It's about giving opportunity and then saying, okay, what are the tools that these young people need to work their way out and have a more prosperous life? And we don't think that involves giving money, but we think it involves giving mentorship, giving access to sports opportunities, working with the schools. So the program of FundLife is really supporting DepEd. And so our program is, how do we reach children who often are at risk of dropping out or maybe becoming teenage mothers? So we try and help the vulnerable ones who are maybe on the margins of leaving education, and then work with the parents, work with the children, work with the teachers to essentially help them, give them the resources and the help to just finish education. That's the most important thing for us.
That's the advocacy of FundLife, basically, is to create better education for children, communities, and also a safe space, right, for the children also. And we've been talking about shock the system, because you ran 600 kilometers in 2 weeks. And I know that you haven't done a marathon before this, right? So you mentioned about football. It's probably your sport before growing up. And why running? Why marathon? Why not 10 kilometers a day? Why not 21 kilometers a day, right? Why a marathon, man? 42.2 kilometers. That's tough for 14 days.
Yeah, but that's why it's exciting, because it's something that scares me. And like I said, I think growing and kind of evolving as a person in life and in business, it's doing things which take you out of your comfort zone. And so, the disclaimer is, I've never ran a marathon before that challenge, but I've been running 10K every day for a year and a half now. So since the 1st of January 2023, I run every single day.
And a half.
Yeah,
every single day.
I haven't missed a day, even when I'm sick, even when I can't get out of bed.
So today you ran.
Later, I will run later.
Later.
I was busy, but yeah, in the evening.
Yeah.
And again, it's to me, it's exciting. The idea of the hardest thing of running is doing it when you don't want to do it.
True. Yeah.
Running is fun when you're running with your friends, or when you have a cool run club, and when you're motivated, right? If you have a race, it's like I have to train because I have a race.
Yeah.
But the hard thing is when you don't want to do it, when you're tired, you don't feel 100%, when it's raining, because I run outside. I can't run the treadmill. For me, that doesn't count as a daily run. So I think for me, it's also creating that mental resilience, because if you can run, in my case, marathon every day for 14 days, everything else then becomes a little bit easier to do. It's like, well, I just did a marathon, so I can do some extra work. I can write that proposal. I can go to that meeting, even if I'm tired to do so. So there wasn't a lot of science behind doing it. It wasn't that I was training, or it wasn't that I did a strict diet. It was really having confidence to do something, and again, also not having. It wasn't even that I was confident I could do it. It was, if I don't do it, at least I tried. Like, what's the worst that can happen if you commit to something, even if you've never done a 10K or a 21K, just try. Because if you don't do it, okay, then you get better, because you learn more from not succeeding than you do from succeeding. I think.
Wow, that's really astonishing feat. 42.2 kilometers a day, every day for 14 days. And I'm sure also in the back of your head, you're also thinking about what I wanted to echo in my heart, in my whole being. You're thinking about the children here in the Philippines, having for them better education probably, and also a safe space. Well, the motto and also the goal of FundLife, right? And you started in Sagada, right?
We started in Pagudpud. So we went to the northernmost part of the Luzon. Yeah.
That was your day one.
Yeah.
And then I remember actually, my wife told me there's a running club that joined you.
Yeah.
That accompanied you in your run. And then, was it every day that a running club or a group of people actually joined you? Tell us about that. We'd like to dig about more.
Yeah. Well, I think we were also curious whether running was popular in the province, because part of doing this challenge was twofold. One, as you said, was to kind of have an advocacy, talking about the opportunity for more children to run. But also it was about exploring other parts of the Philippines outside of Manila, because in the last 3 or 4 years, running here has really exploded in the metro, and so many run clubs, so many people, car-free Sundays now, making it more accessible. So we were curious, and so in Pagudpud, it was mostly running solo until we got to, we met a run club first in Baguio. Okay. So there was a run club, Run with Pat, who's a running coach here, Patrick Rubin in Manila. He set up a chapter in Baguio. So we ran with, I think 10 runners joined or so for one full marathon in Baguio, which was amazing because, Baguio was tough. A lot of hills. that wasn't easy.
I know.
And then, we also did a run with some runners in La Union, but that was only 15K. So there were days when I was alone, and there were days when La Union, Baguio, and of course the last run in Manila, it was with a group. But most of the time it was me, the dark, and headphones, and just the footsteps.
You run in the mornings, or it doesn't really matter anytime?
No, that was the most challenging part for me, was the fact that because we were trying to avoid the heat. So that's the biggest challenge in the Philippines, right? Because once you get to 8, 9, 10 o'clock, the heat becomes so difficult to run in. So I was starting the run around 3 a.m. And trying to finish it by 9 or 10 a.m. So that was always the daily goal. And and that was the most challenging. The rest in between, that was
Yeah.
the hardest thing to deal with.
Yeah, yeah. So heat, humidity, and
Yeah.
everything, and probably the rain. You started in what month?
We did it in July, so it was
July last year.
It was yeah.
Oh, raining.
But we actually had very good weather in that most of the mornings were dry. We only had 2 or 3 raining days. But the biggest challenge was the humidity. So La Union, I remember that it was so hot, and it was 11 a.m. and I was still running the last 5K. And yeah,
11 a.m.
yeah, because it was really tough. So the mental aspect was it was really mental, because the pain, you're in pain all the time when you're running, because imagine, like, if you run a marathon, usually you need 1 or 2 days to just, like, everything is hurting for 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
So after the first run, I was in pain, and it was just like waking up the next day knowing I'm in pain, but I still have to do another marathon. So
Oh, my goodness.
so the pain is constant. It's not
Yeah.
but then, after you do the 5K the next day, then the pain kind of, you get numb to the pain. But then it's very, how can I describe it well? It's kind of, people think, oh, you get used to it, but no, you never really get used to it, because the pain, something hurts, the knee hurts, or you have a new blister.
There's a new pain every day.
Yeah.
Different one
It's
that's sprouting out.
yeah. So
Wow.
by day 3, I had 4 blisters, and I couldn't feel the blisters anymore, because the knee was hurting, then the back was hurting, then something else was the problem, or so. But again, it's just the mental side of the thing. So
And you prepared for this?
no,
really.
I mean, I did some longer runs, but I don't have a running coach. I don't have a nutritionist, because people were saying to me, oh, the biggest, before I started, people said, the biggest problem is going to be nutrition. You're going to have so much diet, or you're going to have so many gels. I didn't take a single gel. And I was very, I wasn't trying to do it the fastest marathon every day. My goal was to finish fresh. So, I got into a good routine by kind of day 7 or 8, where I would do half a marathon, finish by about 6 or 6:30 a.m. And then I would take a 1 hour break, like have a coffee or have a breakfast, because again, I wanted to recharge. So they were kind of I wasn't strict. My only rule was that if I walk, that doesn't count. So if at any point I was either going up a very steep hill, I would stop the watch if I'm walking. So the whole marathon had to be running. I couldn't walk unless I was really injured. So that was the only rule. But yeah, there were some very slow days and hot days. But
Were there easy days, or every day was a hard day? I would assume.
there were easy. There was an easy 5K.
Easiest leg, probably.
Yeah.
Which would you still remember? Day 1,
I
2.
I remember most
So
fondly
Sagada.
Sagada, just because of the terrain, because of the
Okay.
views. That was fun. Obviously, the last day finishing in Manila with so
Okay.
many runners, that was
Alright.
also a lot easier than
Okay.
running by yourself, because you have so much energy and you're not thinking about it. But every day, I think it's like anything, and I've never done an ultra run, but I think people do ultra marathons, like 100K. You have 1 hour where you hate yourself and you start questioning, why am I doing this? I could be relaxing right now. I could be at home. I could be sleeping.
Yeah.
Especially when this is the problem, when you wake up at 3 a.m. and you only have 4 hours sleep. And that's the hardest thing, because as soon as you stand up, everything hurts. Just the first 30 seconds, I couldn't move my feet. So yeah. Thinking back now gets me
Yeah.
I wouldn't, if you said to me that you did this, I wouldn't believe you. It's only when you kind of are in the moment, you don't give yourself a choice. I think you just I'm doing it, and it's
Wow. Okay. You mentioned about your last day, because I briefly joined you guys. I joined the Rockwell Run Club a few days back, after a few months back, through my wife also. And tell us about that, because I know there were just stations when you started from Quezon City, and I also know that some of the coaches also were there. Some of the different running clubs actually was there, and I think it was also shared in the running clubs, in the running groups, that you actually gathered most of the running clubs here in the metro. So maybe talk about that experience. I mean, that was the funnest run, your last one. Were you thinking about, oh my goodness, it's finally the last one? Or, it's finally going to be finished. Yeah. Or was it, I'm going to do this again? Thinking like that?
No.
What were you thinking? Yeah.
No, and just to say, I think I was so overwhelmed and so blown away by the response on that last day. I was really shocked because we started at 2 a.m. in Quezon City.
Yeah.
And Rockwell Run Club were our main partner for that.
Nice.
And Coach Jet. So, they promoted it through their networks. And I thought there'll be only maybe 2 or 3 runners that start at 2 a.m. And so the first thing I saw coming from our hotel in Quezon City was, I think we had 8 or 9 runners that all came at 2 a.m. just to run. And so all of a sudden it's like, wow, okay, this is different. Usually I'm alone and everyone's sleeping. So it was incredible, and again, that's why we wanted to kind of hopefully do it, because I didn't want it to be about me. I didn't want it to be Marko is running this long distance because he wants to show he can do it. But it's really showing the power of community running, and also to advocate that if these run clubs and if these runners from Rockwell and other run clubs can come out at 2 a.m., like, why don't we all kind of step up and do something that can give more opportunities for kids? Because again, I mean, now we're on the back of the Olympics, and you've seen the success of Carlos Yulo, and you see the excitement, and you see how much pride there is in the country, and then you see also businesses stepping up with some gifts or some rewards. And so again, I think, how do you take these positive momentums, but how do you do it in a sustainable way? And the run clubs are an amazing way of doing that, because the run clubs, it's really just people. It's people coming out, and I think, as Rockwell says, it's just showing up. So this idea of just turning up and being there, it's so powerful. And I think, I was, just to answer your question, it was amazing, but definitely wasn't thinking I'm going to do this again. It was, I'm so glad it's the last day. And that tomorrow I don't have to wake up at 2 a.m. and run. That was the thing.
We were also overwhelmed with what happened, and I think some of the people there were also very emotional of what you said. Also, you were there in the middle of the Carfi Ayala Sunday. Most of the running clubs actually were gathered because of the purpose, not just to run, but also to support in the cause, in the FundLife. And I think that's actions more speaking louder, right? Or these are the things that what we really need now. And you said about the Olympics, and hopefully there will be more consistent ways of how to help young in the coming from the grassroots levels, especially in the provinces. A lot has to be done. A lot of work has to be done. So, how will FundLife actually will help in that way? You doing this, and now echoing also the goals of FundLife, and also the mission of FundLife. How will FundLife strive to help in the community, especially for the children?
Yeah, and just to echo what you said, I really believe that there's so much potential in young people. Like, the work that we do, it's about working with children and young people. And in my own experiences growing up, I really have a lot of faith in the next generation. I think they're a lot more aware in terms of these social issues going on because of social media. So that was also for me the most encouraging thing, that I know with Rockwell, they have often, when they do the runs, they have so many young people. And so, you're talking about 18 to 24-year-old bracket. And when I was that age, I was not at all socially aware. Like I said, I grew up in Europe. I grew up quite sheltered. And so all of a sudden you have these young people who are a lot more aware of social issues. And to be honest with you, FundLife, we've been around for a decade, but we're still a small organization. We can only do so much. There's only so many communities that we can help or we work in. I really think that the advocacy for us is getting more people to do what they can, like in some way, whether it's volunteering or doing their own kind of run for a cause, or the run clubs doing something. Because honestly, I think that everyone can do something. But even my experience in the UK when I was living there, we sometimes wait for others to do it before we do it. And sometimes, if we can show people, like we've been saying, I think doing things that scare you, that you think might not work, I think that's the best way. And that's the only way that we've been able to do anything with FundLife, because when we started FundLife, I had never worked in an NGO. I had no experience of a development project. But I think if you just have a simple idea that you believe in, I think you can do like really, really amazing things, especially with sports, because people do sports, running, and I mean they do for anyway.
And people come together.
Yes.
Yeah, for a cause, Olympics, especially for sports, they come together really. And just a few questions before we finish our episode. How can we collectively support FundLife? Maybe you have this is your camera. Maybe you want to say something about how can we support FundLife?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, and I would say the best way to help us and any organization is to find your own passion first. Because once you have passion for something, it doesn't feel like you're going out of your way to help. And I think this is what's been so amazing with the run clubs, because I think the reason why we had so many runners, as you said, it's because they believe in the cause, but also we're not asking them to do something that they're not passionate about. They're running. So find what your passion is, whether it's running, whether it's sports, whether it's healthcare, whether it's climate change, whether it's women empowerment, LGBTQ issues. I think you need to find something that gets you motivated. And with FundLife, more specifically, we have a few initiatives. One is in November for Move for Life, which is again a movement for all life on Earth. So basically being aware about the climate justice issue, because we started after Typhoon Yolanda. So climate change is something that is in the communities that we work with on a daily basis. We also have another activation in March for women's empowerment, which is Move for Equity.
This is March next year.
Yes. So and this run, Move Luzon, was part of Move for Play. So Move for Play is again advocating for all children. So please just follow us, follow the socials, and hopefully we'll have more opportunities for people to move towards a better future. And who knows? I don't know if I'll be running again, but never say never.
All right. Oh my. So Move Luzon, that was just this July, and then next November is Move.
So we had Move Luzon, which was this 14 marathon challenge. Then in November, Move for Life.
Move for Life.
For Life, and then every
March. Do you have the dates already for November?
Not yet, but we're looking around somewhere close to November 8th, which is the anniversary for Typhoon Yolanda. It's going to be the 11th anniversary. So probably we'll try and do an 11K run to remember
every day.
No, just one day 11K. Yeah. Unless you want to do it, you can do your own.
I'm gonna find my voice, just like you. Yeah.
Well, a quick shout out to one of Yeb Sano, who is a climate activist. He's now director of Greenpeace. He actually walked from Manila to Tacloban, which is 1,000 kilometers. So he walked. I think it took him 6 weeks or so. So yeah, he also did something amazing, and again that was raising awareness for climate justice. So
wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of people who like moving, and I think our job is just to kind of get them moving together at the same time. And good things can happen.
Nice. And then next year is Move for Women.
Move for
right?
Equity, yeah,
Equity,
in March.
yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. So, anyone that you'd like to thank, or maybe you want to have a shout out to some of the people that just helped you in this journey, even for Fund Life. Anything that you'd like to say? This is our camera right there.
Yeah, I mean, I've thanked people privately, but I think just in the last few weeks, I think a big thank you to all the run clubs who came out, the individuals. Run with Pat was a great help to start the campaign in before we went out to Pagudpud. And of course, we've been very close to Rockwell Run Club. They've helped us tremendously. Ooh. Yeah, obviously.
They show up, actually.
They do. They do. It's an amazing community. It's really amazing community. I think we'll hear from Job soon about it. But it's like I said, just what they've been able to do in the last 18 months, because they're also a young group that's just starting out, and it just goes to show how powerful communities are, and when it's authentic, I think that's the really inspirational thing, because there's almost no ego attached to these run clubs, and Rockwell is a great example of what I mentioned. Nobody cares where you come from or what brought you there, but it's coming together for a running cause or another associated cause. So big thank you to all the run clubs, especially Rockwell.
Marko Kasic, thank you for doing this again, and we hope we have to see you again in another Shock the System challenge with you. Hopefully also will be part of your journey, that hopefully we'll get to cover your next feat in your November event, and also by next year. All right, so Marko, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please follow Fund Life. We'll put the description also in the link, and also follow Marko Kasic.
Just I just have a running. I'm not active on socials, but I just have a running account, which is just
running
Instagram.
Account.
Yeah, I just do my daily runs. So if you want to follow my movements,
you have a Strava account?
Strava, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know that was the new dating app now?
Really?
I'm just kidding.
I heard. I saw some very viral reels by Rockwell. Yeah. That's a good way to get a lot of people there, huh?
So how do they follow you? You have your
my Strava and my IG is XX_run1 spelled out. So RUNONE.
Okay.
So just run one.
Yeah, we'll put that somewhere here.
Yeah, sure. But most importantly, I would encourage people to go out and run and move. And I tell people all the time, just it's good to watch people run, but it's much better if you go and run yourself.
Okay. Yeah. And by the way, Job from Rockwell Run Club is here.
Yeah.
So Job, come here. Come down here.
I'll get out of the way.
No, just stay here. Stay there. Yeah. So Job. Yeah, because you guys actually came with Marko in the last day, diba? The last day of the day 14 journey, the last day. So that's just from Quezon City all the way to the Ayala Car Free, right?
Yes.
So how about your journey, Job? From the perspective of accompanying and also joining Marko to that last day. Tell us about that.
So I know Marko from Rockwell Run Club, and I had an idea about this his advocacies already, and I have listened to some of the podcasts as well. I was really inspired on the reason why he started Fund Life.
Okay.
So I had an idea of why not join him on his last marathon and make this something inspiring, and it will also my first 40-kilometer run.
That was your first 40.
That is my first 40, and make it something that has a cause for children, for movement, for play, and for education, which is the reason or the purpose of the Fund Life. Am I right?
Yeah.
So that's really inspiring. So and I was so glad that I had this opportunity, and it also showed to inspire others also.
Yeah. And Rockwell Run Club was also in full support here.
Yeah, so
About 300 or more
we
than?
were a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I think more
I
than,
think more
yeah.
150 to 200, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, from different distances. So some of us started in Timog. I met Marko
Quezon
there,
City.
and then
Yeah.
we met others in the first 21 at the Medical City, and most of the runners were waiting for us in Greenbelt. Greenbelt in Uniqlo.
Yeah, the last 10K we had.
That was a lot of runners. There were a lot of
Yeah.
runners.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than 200 showed up in that
Yeah.
post. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would remember, Marco, when also at that time when you guys went inside the car-free Ayala, it was not yet full. The Ayala, lane at that time was not yet full. But when you guys came, there was a sea of people already.
People
There were
knew that
different
people knew that
running
Rockwell
clubs.
arrived. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was something spectacular also to see people coming together, reaching out, and also turning up, just showing up,
Just
for a
showing
cause,
up, yeah.
for a cause, And I think that hopefully this will be a start of people authentically giving back, collaborating, and also just being unique in a way and how we can help in our communities, also promoting good spaces, safe spaces for children, and also hopefully better education for children. Yeah. So it's a good thing that Job is here, because I'm gonna ask him to also invite people to join. Maybe I know that there's a lot of members for the Rockwell Run Club, but Job, I'd like to give us this opportunity also to talk about Rockwell Run Club, and maybe you can also tell them and how they will be able to join Rockwell Run Club. Yeah.
So first, I would go back to that to that marathon. So
Sige.
it was a good channel for the run clubs to invite young ones, all the people, all their members, to increase the awareness of this advocacy of this man and his foundation. And kudos to all those who have joined that marathon and supported him in his 2-week journey. For the Rockwell Run Club, I have been a member since January this year, but I've been
this
running
year.
alone, sometimes with the club since last year, with a motivation for personal motivation. But it was a home for me when I started running. From the day one, I have been very religious on the schedules already. I've been running with them 3 to 4 times a week. Sometimes they would make a joke that I'm only absent if I have race on a Sunday. Yeah, during the earliest time when I was with them. So it was because they have been an environment with shared enthusiasm for a common passion, which is running. And now we have been beyond running, because we have been inspiring other people also, and working together with other organizations with different causes. And we are not just only a run club, but we are also a channel to increase awareness of what are the problems in our community, to make this community to make our country a better place for us to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for everybody who wants to join the Rockwell Run Club, don't be intimidated by the name Rockwell Run Club. Anybody can join. Just show up. There's no sign up needed. You just show up. We have different runs. We have schedules from Monday until Sunday.
Oh yeah.
So
it's a full schedule.
Yeah, it's a full schedule all over the metro. So we have runs in Ayala Triangle Monday and Wednesday evening. And we have Tuesday runs, the most popular, and people would attend the
In Rockwell,
Tuesday
in the
runs in
morning.
Rockwell, 6 a.m. in the morning. We do have speed sessions during Friday, as well as long distance runs on Sundays.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Well.
So just show up.
Yeah. Job, you said it very well on how the running clubs actually supported, and actually it's not just a pure running club. It also raises awareness on the different things that has to be echoed, and to make it very purposeful, not just purely running, but also just to be, yeah.
And just on that, I would say that they've all the run clubs, but in particular Rockwell, they've really made it a safe place for new runners. And so it's not, I think traditionally run clubs were always associated with, they were quite intimidating in terms of, oh, you have to be a fast runner or you have to be, but with Rockwell, I know that they have newbies pretty much every session who are either walking, half running, half walking. So I think just that advocacy in itself, getting more people to be active, and because sometimes in Manila it's hard to find areas where you can run or find a place, and just having that safe space with other runners and you're not by yourself, navigating traffic is a good thing. So kudos.
Yeah.
I would take this quote from our founder, Ashley. So she was interviewed in one of the magazines, and then she mentioned that in Rockwell Run Club, if you're a newbie, if you cannot run, then we will rock with you. So we will guide you through this journey. If inspire you also how beautiful it was for us, then we can share it with you to inspire you more to be active and to be more healthy.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe. Marco, thank you so much. Awesome. Ganda nitong episode. You understand Tagalog? A little?
Wala. Gamay Bisaya.
Gamay. Tama ka mag-Bisaya?
Gamay.
Alright, so guys, thank you so much. This has been another episode of Shock the System podcast with Marco and Job of Rockwell Run Club. We hope to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in, liking and subscribing our page. We are still available here on YouTube and also on Spotify. And thank you so much for supporting us to this platform. And eventually we'll bring more very inspiring people here on the podcast. So Marco again, and also from Rockwell Run Club, Joe. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Woo-hoo.